How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the longest tenured player on each CFL team. I thought this would be interesting to look at, given that the CFL is known as a league that has a lot of turnover, a lot of players changing teams each year, but there are a handful of players in the league that have been with the respective team for a very long time, and I thought it would be nice to highlight them today. So I'm going to be counting them down to the team that has the longest tenured player. And so for the first player on this list is the Edmonton Elks' longest tenured player, and that is safety Scott Hutter, who's been with the team since 2019. Believe it or not, he is the only player that is still around from the Edmonton Elks of 2019, so pre that canceled 2020 season. So I think that Hutter has developed into a pretty good player for the Elks. I mean, not really a superstar or anything, but got a lot of starts last year on a pretty bad Edmonton Elks defense, but I thought he played all right. But yeah, he's their longest tenured player as of right now. We all know that Chris Jones has really turned over this roster over the past couple of years. But yeah, Scott Hutter is the longest tenured player for the Edmonton Elks currently. Next up, we have the Toronto Argonauts' longest tenured player, and this one kind of surprised me. It is left tackle Isaiah Cage, who's been there since 2018, has played in 27 games with the team, so he's really struggled with injuries since he's been with the organization, but he is the longest tenured player, and it's not really too surprising because the Argos have had a lot of free agent additions over the past couple of years here, really building that winning culture in Toronto. But yeah, Cage is their longest tenured player, which is kind of surprising to me, but at the end of the day, he is their longest tenured player. Then moving on to number 7, we have the Saskatchewan Roughriders' longest tenured player, and that is fullback Albert AWACHIE, who has played in 55 games for the team. Again, not playing a full season's worth of games very often, but he has been with the team since 2017. Not really too much to say about AWACHIE. He's just kind of a fullback that doesn't really contribute that much, I think, in terms of the offense. So at the end of the day, he is their longest tenured player, but not really a very consequential one for the Rough Riders. Then moving on to number 6, we have the Ottawa Redblacks' longest tenured player, and this is another one that's kind of surprising, not a name you hear too often, and that is defensive lineman Nigel Romick, who has been a special teams contributor for this team for a number of years, since 2014 actually, has played in 103 CFL games, has kind of fell out of the rotation a little bit recently. It never really was, in the defensive rotation, but in terms of being active for every game, but he is still with the organization, been with them since 2014, like I said, but not a guy that really contributes too much on the defensive side of the ball, but has been a very effective special teamer, like I said, over those years in Ottawa, and I think it's worthy of mention here that he is their longest tenured player. Then moving on to number 5, we have the BC Lions' longest tenured player, and that is TJ Lee, defensive back, who's been there since 2014, has played in 113 games for the organization as of week 4 of 2023, and he's been one of the best defensive backs in the league for a number of years now, manning his halfback spot, can do a little bit of everything, come down and stop the run, as well as be one of the best pass coverage guys in the whole league. So he's one of my favorite players in the entire league, and it's no surprise that he is the BC Lions' longest tenured member of the organization. Then moving on to number 4, we have the Hamilton Tiger Cats' longest tenured player. Another player that won't surprise CFL fans. It is linebacker Simone Lawrence, who's been with the team since 2013, has played in 138 games for the club. And what else can you say? He's the team's all-time leading tackler, one of the most dynamic defensive players in franchise history. Still playing pretty well here in 2023. Again, not too surprising that Simone is the longest tenured Tiger Cat, but I will say that Ted Laurent also came over to the organization in 2014, so that's worthy of a mention here. He's been with the team for a long time as well. Then moving on to number 3, we have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers' longest tenured player, and this is another player that comes as no surprise to anybody that's followed the Canadian Football League, and that is defensive tackle Jake Thomas, who's been with the organization since 2012, since he was drafted by the team. He's played in 170 career games with the organization, so very impressive resume, and has been a big contributor on those 2 Grey Cup teams they had in 2019 and in 2021. And what else can you say about Jake Thomas? Been a very good player at the defensive tackle position, can rush the passer, can stop the run. I mean, just a really good player still here in 2023, and is the longest tenured player for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Then moving on to number 2, we have the Calgary Stampeders' longest tenured player, and that is RENE PAREDES, kicker, who has been there since 2011, has played in 195 games for the club, longtime one of the best kickers in the CFL. really happy to see that he's still playing in the league despite pursuing a firefighting career outside of football. So he's going to be doing that when he's done playing. People thought he was going to retire this year from the Stampeders, but decided to come back for one more year. Still a very good kicker and one of the better special teams players in the entire league here in 2023. And then the longest tenured player on any of the CFL teams in 2023, and this really shocked me, is Christian Matt of the Montreal Alouettes, who's been there since 2010, has played in 169 games for the club. So that's lower than a couple of the players on the list here, but has been with the team for the longest number of years. And Matt has just been a staple for the organization. You kind of forget about him as kind of a quiet interior offensive lineman for that club, but he's been with the organization for a very long time, was a very good pick in the CFL draft back in the day, but at the end of the day, it's really surprising that he is the longest tenured player on any of the CFL clubs here in 2023. But with that said, those are just the longest tenured players on each CFL team here in 2023. Be sure to let me know in the comment section if I missed a player, if I made a mistake here on one of the teams, if they're not the longest tenured player. Be sure to let me know. And with that said, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.